It's the Fulhamish YouTube channel. Sammy here, previewing Monday night's game against Burnley at Craven Cottage, and I'm joined by Tom Whittaker from the No Nay Never Burnley podcast. Tom, how you doing?
Sammy, very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Well, I must admit, for a Fulham fan, it's been a bit of a tough weekend, particularly Friday night's win for Newcastle, and I think we were all pretty resigned to relegation, but that result was a massive kick in the teeth to any lingering ambition. So I kind of want to flip that onto you, really. As a Burnley fan, looking at the situation in the table now, 9 points clear of us. Do you guys think you're safe?
I think it's difficult to see a situation where that points gap gets overtaken with such a small amount of games left. I think if there were 7 or 8 to go, I definitely wouldn't be comfortable on 9. But realistically, we only need to win one game, and that's if we lose to yourselves. I think if we avoid defeat in this game, it's still 9, potentially 12 points with 3 games left. And with the greatest of respect, I don't see you winning each of your last 3 games. So I think if we can avoid defeat in this game, we'll have it wrapped up, and I'm pretty confident either way.
I mean, it's been a tough season for Burnley, really, by your kind of own lofty standards. There's been kind of problems off the pitch, and on it, it always hasn't gone to plan for Burnley. But you have just managed to amass enough wins to see you through what's been a bit of a transitional season, maybe, for the Clarets. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we had similar problems to yourselves in the summer, in that the squad wasn't put together well. I mean, at least you managed to get some players through the door in the end and did put a squad together. The biggest problem for ourselves has been the takeover, the lingering sort of knowledge in the background that was going to go ahead at some point, and it's meant that the transfer spending was really restricted in the summer. We only ended up bringing in one player for £1 million, a reserve midfielder who's not played very much from Brighton. And we lost 3 or 4 players at the end of last season, so it's meant that the squad's been small. We started the season with a few injuries, and it meant that our season never really kick-started. We've managed to, when people have got back fit, when we've had players available, we have managed to just get the amount of points on the board necessary to hopefully now to stay up. But yeah, beyond that, the ambition's not really been there this season, and I suppose we should just be happy this year with the kind of the lack of investment and, as you say, the off-field uncertainty that we've had for a lot of the season, just to get over the line and hopefully have a stronger summer this summer and build back for a better season next season.
Are you happy with the new ownership situation? I mean, I guess investment is always welcomed. I guess you could question not the morals, but quite the way that these new owners want to take Burnley. It's always been such a traditionally run club, really stable, really secure, and I guess with kind of foreign investment, there's an element of unknown being brought in to the situation. Are Burnley fans positive or negative about the new owners that have come in?
Yeah, it's a difficult one to answer so soon into the ownership. So the takeover was completed just before the January transfer window. We were hoping that there might be some movement, a bit of money spent then, and it never materialised. But you could put that down to the fact that obviously it was such a short turnaround time between taking over and the window opening. The way that the takeovers was done, it was a similar kind of, albeit not on the same scale, but a similar kind of leverage buyout to what the Glazers did at Manchester United. So there's always a bit of worry with that. But one thing that I would say about the new owners is the PR has been absolutely spot on. So they're communicating with fans a lot better than the old regime. And they're sensitive to things that the fans want to see, little bits of, little touches. There was a plaque in one of the lounges commemorating when we won the league in 1921, and that's been restored and redone. So little things, knowledge of the history, that kind of thing, it does go a long way. The game that's coming up in a couple of weeks when fans are allowed in, the tickets are going to be free for that one. So just little gestures like that is not something that we always saw from the old board. So in terms of PR, they're making the right noises, they're saying the right things. But I think judgment's going to be reserved on them until we see what happens in the summer. Can we keep hold of the manager? Can we spend a bit of money? Can we stretch the budget a bit further than the previous regime did? And if they do that, then they'll be successful. But there's still very much question marks over that, I think.
Yeah, I mean the kind of PR gesture to give away free tickets for your final home game certainly didn't go unnoticed amongst the Fulham fan base, because our ticket prices are £40 for the final game against Newcastle, which would be a justifiable price maybe if there was a potential survival match in stake, which obviously for a long time it looked like that, but now it looks like a complete dead rubber for a relegated side. Maybe not quite the optics that they'd have wanted, and then kind of compounded with Burnley giving theirs away for free. I think it's certainly wound up a lot of Fulham fans saying, well, why can Burnley do it and Fulham can't even maybe do half price tickets or something for this game? But kind of by the by, in terms of Fulham trying to get something from this Burnley match, what is the kind of best way to get at Burnley? Obviously, we know that the physicality, you're going to play a traditional 4-4-2 with Barnes and Wood up front. So what tends to be the best way to play a Burnley side, excluding maybe the likes of the top six, who are naturally going to fare well against teams in the lower half of the table? If you are a mid to lower table team, what tends to be the best tactic against this Burnley team?
So recently, Barnes hasn't been playing very much. He's been injured. He's been in and out of the team for a lot of the season with injuries and illness and things like that. So we've been playing a 4-4-2 with Vidra and Wood up front. And we look a lot easier to get at, because we, to try and play to Vidra's strengths, what we've been doing is pressing the midfield a lot higher up, winning the ball in the final third. It works better for Vidra because he likes the ball on the floor. The aerial balls that we're quite sort of infamous for haven't been on display as much in recent weeks. But what the problem that it is causing us at the minute is the gaps between the midfield and the defence are quite large. As you say, we play the classic 4-4-2, and we do miss a sitting midfield in there somewhere. When the two midfielders are pushing up, Westwood and Cork, you'll find a gap between them. And if you transition quickly, if you counter attack, if you have someone in that number 10 kind of in the hole who's quick and direct, we have really struggled with that in recent weeks. It's cost us goals against West Ham, Southampton. And I think if Fulham want any joy, it's going to be in dominating that midfield. It's going to be winning the ball in the middle third and transitioning quickly into the final third. And we do look vulnerable to that counter attack at the minute. So that would be, if you've got a midfielder who can win it in there and you've got fast players in the final third, someone like Lookman through the middle would cause us a lot of problems, I think.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like relying on Ruben Loftus-Cheek, which has kind of been Fulham's problem this season. But we'll see if he gets any joy on Monday, because I imagine he'll be back in the squad. So, humour me here. If Fulham did win on Monday, it's a big if. I don't think it's all looking like it's going the wrong way for Fulham. But let's play devil's advocate here and say that the gap is 6 points between ourselves and yourselves. Your final three games are Leeds, Liverpool, and then Sheffield United. Obviously, that Sheffield United on the final day is a bit of welcome relief if you do fall into any major problems. Are you slightly worried about what could happen if Fulham did win this match going forward, or do you still think that there's enough kind of safety nets for Burnley to get themselves out of this?
I think the big one for me is looking at your fixtures. It's the trip to Old Trafford. I just really don't see Fulham getting anything out of that. And I could see them winning the other two games, but it's that Man United away game. I don't see Fulham getting 3 points in that one, and that basically leaves us with the task of getting 2 points from these remaining three fixtures. Liverpool, that's probably a bit of a write-off, especially now they look like they've got a chance for the Champions League. But the Leeds game, I think, while I respect them, they've had a great season. I think the fact that they wouldn't have a lot to play for, hopefully would play into our hands a little bit in that game. And then Sheffield United, you've seen they've not really been at the races all season. I thought perhaps once they're relegated, sometimes you get a bit of a bounce, but they still seem to be rolling over and surrendering in a lot of the fixtures they've got. So and I don't think it will get to this, but if we do go into that last game of the season against Sheffield United needing something, I'd be pretty confident that we could get a result there. So I think even if you do beat us on Monday night, I think we'll still be in pole position.
Yeah, I think that is much of the Fulham fans' feeling as well. Like, yeah, woohoo, it would be 6 points. But and I guess what the frustration is actually, a couple of wins here for Fulham, a couple of draws turned into wins. And also, I think that you guys have just picked up results when it mattered. I think that 4-0 win at Wolves just completely illustrated that. You looked at the table up before that game against Wolves and you're thinking, Burnley might be dragged into this, and not to go to a Wolves and nick a win, but to win 4-0, for Wood to score that hat trick. It felt like to me a bit of Burnley standing up and saying, Yeah, we are Premier League quality. We do deserve to be here. And I don't know, Burnley fans must have been so happy with that performance as well, particularly with it just like being on BBC One as well. Just show off to the nation that Burnley are actually here, a proper Premier League team, and should be taken seriously.
Yeah, I think anyone who doesn't have a Sky Sports subscription probably thinks we're one of the top 6 teams in the country after watching that. Yeah, it was a really good performance. As you say, I think one thing that we have seen down the years is we are capable of just pulling out these big performances, big results when we really do need them. We've got some quality players in the squad as well. It goes unnoticed sometimes, but we have got a few players who really could play at a easy, a regular top 10 team. Ward and McNeil are 2 of those, Tarkowski and Pope at the back as well. And sometimes if we can get 3 or 4 of these players really far and having a really good game, then we can blow teams away. Obviously, it's not always our style. And we were kind of lucky as well to come up against a team that looked like they were on the beach already. But we took advantage of it. And like you say, I think we have just got that ability to just nick a win when it's really needed. And I think probably it's just getting, as you said with Fulham, it's turning those draws into wins and just getting those results over the line. That's probably going to be the difference between us this season.
I think you look at the 2 games that Fulham and Burnley have played against Wolves, a team there that just for 6 months have just been sitting ducks, a lot of it. Safe, of course, because they had a good start to the season. But Fulham lost 1-0 in the final minute to Wolves despite dominating the game. You guys went there and won 4-0. And that does just feel a bit like the kind of clinical difference between a side that's been in the Premier League, knows what it's doing, and then a side that is talented, undoubtedly, but just a little bit naive at times and maybe just a bit wet behind the ears. And I think you just see there why there is a 9-point gap between Fulham and Burnley. I mean, I'm very much hoping, Tom, that it is a 6-point gap come Monday. What do you think? What would be your final score prediction going into this one tomorrow night?
I think probably similar to the game at Turf Moor. I think probably a low-scoring draw. I don't think we'll be going there with an ambition to go and win 3 or 4-0 like we did against Wolves. I think we'll be happy to go there and slow the game down, kill the game as much as we can, make sure it's a tight knit game because we don't want to be too open at the back. The draw is a much better result for us than it is for you. So I could see a 0-0 or a 1-1 happening quite easily.
Yeah, and sadly, I can see the same thing happening as well, and it's going to be 90 minutes of just banging my head against a wall. But we'll see what happens. Tom, thank you so much for coming on the Fulhamish YouTube channel and giving us a bit of a lowdown ahead of Monday night's game.
Excellent, thank you very much. You'll understand that I won't wish you luck for the rest of the season, but hopefully for a better season next season.
Cheers, man.